सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्। नारायणं पद्मभवं वसिष्ठं शक्तिं च तत्पुत्रपराशरं च व्यासं शुकं गौडपादं महान्तं गोविन्दयोगीन्द्रमतास्य शिष्यं श्रीशङ्कराचार्यमतास्य पद्मपादं च हस्तामलकं च शिष्यं तं तोडकं वार्तिककारमन्यान् अस्मद्गुरून् सन्ततमानतोऽस्मि। श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पादं शङ्करं लोकशङ्करं। शङ्करं शङ्कराचार्यं केशवं बादरायणं सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः। समस्तजनकल्याणे निरतं करुणामयं नमामि चिन्मयं देवं सद्गुरुं ब्रह्मविद्वरम्। सर्ववेदान्तसिद्धान्त गोचरं तमगोचरं गोविन्दं परमानन्दं सद्गुरुं प्रणतोऽस्म्यहम्। Having explained the verses for meditation, here those 10 verses are to be thought of and in contemplation time, for they indicate the nature of the self. That's why it is said in the verse number 264, that is, what did it say? Uktamartamimamaatmani swayam bhavayet praditayuktibhirdhiya samshayadirahitam karambuvat tena sattamigamo bhavishyati. Atmani swayam bhavayet, in oneself, continuously to think about it. Uktamartamimam, whatever is spoken so far about the nature of the self, as it is said, tattvam asiti. Brahma tattvam esi bhavayatmani. Atmani bhavaya. Manasi. Atmani means manasi, in the mind. Because Atmani, when it is said, it is not the self. In your mind, bhavayet, meditate on Brahma Tattvamasiti. And what is the way to do that? Pratita yukti bihi diya bhavayet. With your intellect. Pratita yukti bihi. Yukti, logic, methodology of thinking. As we have seen, Drigdrishya Viveka Ityadi Yukti bihi. Because these are all what we don't think. Before we read about Drigdrishya Viveka, for example, did we ever think in that way? That Rupam Drishyam, Lochanam Drik, Tadrishyam, Driktumanasam, these things we never think about. The schools and the university never taught like that. So the yukti is so unique and ancient and traditionally followed. And so those yuktis are to be applied. Diya yukti bihi diya bhavet. Because if we apply our own logic, probably we may not get far. Here it is directly you go into the self. What I see is, seer is the eye, seen is the object. And then eyes are also seen by the mind. Mind is also seen by the buddhi. Buddhi is also seen by the self. Therefore, who is the real seer? The self. Direct. Then It's a direct yukti. So that is why it is said yukti bihi shastra vihita yukti bihi dhiya bhave. And there should not be any samshaya. Samshayadi rahitam karambuvat tena tattva nigamo bhavishyati. Then without any doubt, like the water in your own hand is so doubtlessly clear. In the same way, it is tattva nigamaha. The determination of the truth, bhavishyati, will become. So continuing here in the verse number 265. Swabodhamatram parishuddha tattvam Vijñāya sarve Vijñāya sange Nabhavaccha sainye Nipavaccha sainye Tadāshrayasvātmani sarvadā stitah Vilāpaya brahmani vishvajatam Swabodhamatram parishuddha tattvam Vijñāya sange nripavaccha sainye Tatāshrayasvātmani sarvadā stitah Vilāpayet brahmani vishvajatam. Swabodhamatram, I think we saw this also, I think 265, I think we finished this as well. So the example first to see here, Sainye Nripavat, like the king in the midst of the army, how he distinctly is seen as a commander of that entire army. Sainye Nripavat, Sange Parishuddha Tattvam Bodhamatram Swam Vijñāya. Having understood Vijñāya, what? Swam, oneself, Bodhamatram, a only consciousness, and which is of the nature of complete purity. Parishuddha Tattvam. Meaning what? Just like the king in the Sainya or in the midst of the army, not only commands it, but he distinctly is seen. In the same way, Sainye Bahu Yoda Gadite Sainye Chatradi Jiknena Nipamiva Sange Sharira Indriya Prana Ahankara Rupa Karya Karana Sangate Parishuddha Tattvam Tattvam Yadatmyam Tat Swam Atmanam Sarva Vibhasaka Jnana Matram Drishya Sambandharahitam Vijñāya. It is to be seen as in Drigdrishya Viveka, Drishta Drikeva Natu Drishyate iti. The final seer is Drigeva Natu Drishyate. It is subject, it never becomes an object. That is the distinguishing part of it. It is unseen, but at the same seer of everything. That is the beauty of it. Sarvada Panipadam Yat Sarvadoksha Shiromukam. At the same time, Apanipadam Achakshustotram. It is that which is hands and legs of everyone, but it is not having any hand. It is eyes and ears of everybody, but there is no eyes. Sarva Guna Adisham. Sarva Guna Rahitam. It is the one which is the ruler of all the qualities, but does not have any quality of its own. Shrotrasya Shrotram Manaso Manaha Vacho Avacham Pranasya Pranaha Chakshusha Chakshugu. In this way, one should Vijñāya Vivekena Anubhuya Tada Atmana Eva Jnanatmana Eva Sarva Da Atmani Stitaha Swarupanishtaha Brahmani Vrikshajadam Vilapaya. So the whatever is, that is why, what is there given as Vilapaya Brahmani? Vishwajatam Sarvam Brahmani Vilapaya. Merge the entire world into the self. So today also we saw in Dakshinamurti that in the state of sleep, what happens? In the state of sleep, whether we like it or not, everything gets merged. So there is a beautiful example that is given. Rahu grasta divagarendu sadrusho maya samachadana sanmatra karanopasamharanato yobu sushupta puman pragaswap samidhi prabodha samaye yapratyabhignayate tasmai Sri Guru Murtaye namayidam Sri Dakshina Murtaye. In the state of sleep, everything gets withdrawn into the Karana Sharira. That is, senses are merged into the mind. Mind merges into Buddhi, Buddhi merges into Vasanamaya Kosha. Ajnana Kosha it is called. It is because of the mind settling down into the Karana Sharira, because of which the mind loses its ability to know or think. When the mind and the intellect gets merged into the Karana Sharira being the abode of Ajnana, when it is over, what is meant by merging into Karana Sharira or the causal body? Mind and body losing their ability to think. That is what is called merging into Ajnana Shariram or Ajnana. That's why in Kaivalya Upanishad it says Sushupti Kale Sakale Viline Tamo Bhuta Sukarupameti. Tama Abhibhutaha, Ajnana Abhibhutaha. And the example Bhagavan Shankaracharya gives there is Rahugrasta Divakarendra Sadrshuha. Like during the eclipse. Think about it, Shankaracharya writes it in the 8th century. At that time he knew eclipse is not where, at that time they had a superstition, right? Oh, the sun and the moon are being swallowed by Rahu. The story is there. Rahu, whose head is cut off, he has head only, no body. So what happens? When he swallows, it will come out. Right? Because you have that one game, no? What is it called? Pac-Man. Pac-Man. But it just comes out of this side. Why? Because there, of course, it swallows, right? I don't know. I have not played that, but I've seen that. But here, Rahu is swallowing, but how long? Because it cannot swallow, because it comes out that way. So, Bhagavan Shankaracharya says, Rahu grasta Divakara Indu Sadrishaha. Like Divakara, sun and the moon are swallowed by Rahu. For a short period of time, they appear to have disappeared. It's not that they are not there forever. They are not gone. Sanmatra. Karana upasamharataha sanmatra. Meaning, their ability to function as the knowing principles, mind and intellect, and the karanani, for a short period of time suspended. Even though the nature of consciousness is what? Sat, Chit and Anand. Right? It will never lose it. It will never lose its Chit Tattvam or Sat Tattvam or Ananda Tattvam. Its existence, its awareness or consciousness and being bliss is not a guna to lose. So in the time of sleep, the ability to ability to express itself as Chit, with the help of the mind and intellect is suspended. What remains? Sat. Sanmatra karana upasamharataha yo bhut sushupta puman pragaswapsamiti prabodha samaye yapratyabhigyayate. When he wakes, so the Buddhists have a view that there is nothing permanent anywhere. Sarvam kshanikam, sarvam shunyam. Everything is either temporary for a short period of time, there is nothing permanent, and actually there is nothing called substantially eternal, for everything is shunyam, void, which is what Shankaracharya, Bhagavan Shankaracharya is trying to argue with. Anyway, coming back to here, so the mind and intellect merging into Anandamaya Kosha, which means what? The Ajnanam overpowers mind and intellect. That's a state called sleep. We all know that. We all go to, every day we go there. We go to the Ajnana Sthiti, a state of ignorance every night. And what is your experience there? Aham kimapi na janami. I don't know anything. So we experience the absence of everything. When I say we have to be very careful what that we means. Self-illuminating consciousness alone is there with no thought. And when somebody wakes up, and the same person, when he wakes up, he is able to recall that I slept. If a person has to recall or recognize, unless he had experienced it, he cannot recognize. Right? If I say I recognize you, what does it mean? I have seen you before. I recognize you. If I have never seen you before, I cannot say I can recognize you. What? Similarly, if one has said that Maya suptam, sukena maya suptam, I slept very well, that means the sleeping state where there is absence of everything is experienced not as a particular thought process, but yet it is known. To know, there must be something. Whether you call it as a vritti, some people hold the view there is a single vritti is present there to record that or understand that, to recall that later. Or some people hold the view by the blessing of the consciousness alone we are able to recognize this, though mind is not there. So the difference between, why I am talking about that is here, Prativi apsu payo vakhnau vaknirvayo nabasi asau nabobi api akrute tacha shuddham shuddhosmi aham hari. What does it mean? The samadhi sthiti is where you merge as though the world has to be merged. What is world? Constitute of earth, water, fire, air, space. Right? So, Prathivi apsu. Merge the earth into the water. Payaha vahnau. Water into Agni, fire. Vahni vayo. Fire into air. Nabasi asau. Into the space, even the Vayu. Nabo api avyakrite. Even that space has to be merged into the avyakrite, means prakriti. Into the prakriti. Tacha, even that prakriti, shuddhe. Shuddhe means here Atmani, in the self. Yachet vang manasi prajnyaha tat yachet jnana atmani Jnanam Atmani Mahatini Yache Tat Yache Shanta Atmani Upanishad. So, even that Prakriti must be merged in the Shuddha Atma. And that is what? Aham Asmi Harihi. That Shuddha Aham Asmi Harihi. Iti Ritiya Tattat Upadeyanam Sarva Upadana Vidirekena Asadbhavam Minischitya Sarvasya Sarva Upadanabhuta Brahmya Vyatirekena Ashrayam Nischunihi Abhavam Nischunihi Ityartha. Abhavam Nischunihi. Abhavam Nischunihi means come to recognize their true absence. They are all bhaditam. They are appearance subject to falsification. So the difference between Sushupti and Samadhi, sleep and deep abidance is this. In sleep, it happens to everyone without their attempt. You don't need to attempt to do all these things. Because once the ajnanam has taken over, you have no control over it. Do you you go to sleep based upon your volition, do you think? Now I have to start sleeping. You may think like that, but sleep happens not because of your thinking to sleep. You allow the condition to happen. Lie down. May the queen of sleep embrace me now. If you can't, then you put one pill. You have two options. Either you take the pillow or the pill. The first one is good. Pillow is better than pill. So in the state of sleep, it happens because of the natural condition of your Prakriti, which every day needs to overpower you. Tamo vibhuta sukha rupameti. And it is said in Kaivalya Upanishad that the person again wakes up what? Purva karma vashat, karma yoga vashat, punah swapiti prabudhyate cha. Jagra avastha and the dream, everything takes place according to the Prakriti, according to the Purvakrita karma. Whereas in Samadhi, a person can go into definitely abide only when there is no more karma vasanas to wake him up. Otherwise, even to go there is difficult. It will come next, we will talk about that. So, when a person consciously is able to withdraw the mind and the senses, not even he consciously does that, he is bypassing the overpowering ajnanam to take over this. So, that is the reason why Bhagavan Krishna also said, if you have not slept well, Samadhi will not be possible. Why? Because Samadhi will become only Sushupti. If your body is tired and then you try to meditate, you will go to sleep. So the mind has to be alert and you should not have physical tiredness, mental tiredness. And by conscious attempt to remain in the self, by the same method of withdrawing the mind, withdrawing the senses into the mind into the buddhi, and buddhi consciously merging into the self and not in the karana sharira. Only when we attempt to do it, we realize how much this karana sharira, vasana maya kosha, is having power over us. Only when we attempt to take our two tips of our two hands to touch the toes, we realize how heavy is the Madhya Pradesh. Until you do it, you will never know how much of heaviness is sitting here. Then you realize, oh, this is an obstacle. Until then, we don't know. When we don't attempt, we'll never know. Only when you start yoga or practice, then you know how much you can't stretch. Swamiji, when I used to do all these Surya Namaskar so easy. Now, you can't do it. Why? No practice. Don't blame that I'm old and all that. That's not the point. Even there are 90 years old who are still able to do it. It is lack of practice. So in the same way, why I am not able to cross this layers of ajnanam, which whenever I attempt, it pulls you back to the sleep. Because there is so much in stock sitting there. So that's what he says. When one does that, then one is able to nischunihi ityartha. What? Sarva upadana bodha brahma vadirekena abhavam. All this that is other than Brahman are all nothing but a mere appearance. Buddho guhayam sadasat vilakshanam Brahmasti satyam paramadvitiyam Tadatmana yotra vaset guhayam Punarnatasyanga guha pravesha Buddho guhayam sadasat vilakshanam Brahmasti satyam paramadvitiyam Tadatmana yotra vaset guhayam Punarnatasyanga guha pravesha. Play of words here. Sadasat vilakshanam Brahma asti satyam. Truly, there is this Brahman which is sad asat vilakshanam. Sadasat vilakshanam means it is beyond sat and asat. Karana karya is called here. Karana is satyam. Karya is asatyam. In this context, asatyam means not unreal. It is in the form of that which is as an effect. Cause and effect does not apply to the self because it is beyond the relationship of karya and karana. So here, sad asat vilakshanam, which is beyond the concept of is and is not. It is not a vritti janitam. So here in the Bhashyakar very clearly says here, Buddho guhayam sadasat vilakshanam. Sadasat vilakshanam satyam advitiyam param brahma guhayam Buddho asti yoyam vijnanamaya praneshu hrit antarjyoti purushaha iti shrudehe sava atma sa eva aisha atma hriti iti cha pratibodha viditam drishyate kriya buddhya sukshmaya sukshmadarshibihi iti shrudehe. The various shrutis are quoted to show what is this guha which is talking about. Buddhi guha. Guha here is a cave, but cave of the intellect. So that's what he said, Buddho guhayam. See, any guha means what? A cave. What is cave? Once you get in, you don't know what there is there inside. Dark. Right? Hidden, in another meaning, is hidden. Here, guha does not mean dark. Guha means that which is not easily perceptible. It is hard, subtle. So, Atman is that which is the subtlemost aspect of your buddhi. It is not a thought process and therefore consciousness is present as the substratum of all thoughts. Therefore, that subject, the self, cannot be comprehended by a thought. Therefore, it is said incomprehensibility. Therefore, it is Guha. Not it is dark. It is secret. Again, Gupta, when it is at what? It is hidden. Or Gupta also means secret. So here it is said Buddhau Guhayam. And why it is Buddhi is used here? Buddhim vina vetum ashakyatvat. Without the intellect, sharp intellect, it cannot be known. That's why Bhagavan Krishna also says, Dadami buddhi yogam tam ena mamupayate. Even those people who are meditating on me or worshipping me, how do I make them liberated? I give them buddhi. It is not by fluke. Those people who are meditating, those who are devoted to me, finally I have to rescue them only by giving buddhi to them. Not any other way. So even those bhaktas who are devoted to the Lord, finally have to come to the, as Gurudev would say, the royal path is only one. El Camino Real is only one. Anywhere you go, El Camino Real will be going there. The royal path. Royal, what is it called? That's a royal path, right? What is it called? Grand Trunk Road. So you have to come to that point because Buddho Guhayam Sadasas Vilakshanam Brahma Asti Satyam Param Advitiyam. So Buddhim Vina Vetum Ashakyatvat. And how is it? Darpanam Iva Mukasya Buddhi Vrittihi Eva Avaranam Bhaktva Brahma Grihnadi Iti Sarvagadam Api Buddho Asti Iti Katyate. Just like take a mirror, moment you take mirror in front of you, it will show your face. Darpanam Iva Mukasya. That's like a mirror for the face. Buddhi Vrittireva Avaranam Bhaktva. The thought that are there, once we remove the thought conditioning in there, Brahma Grihnati iti Sarvagadam api Brahma Buddho Asti iti Katyate. That's why it is when the thought reduction takes place slowly, one comes to understand the substratum. And that will be as clear as one sees oneself in the mirror. Sushuptau, that's again he points out here, in the state of sleep, buddhi abhavena. Why not then, in that case, in the sleep, is it not easy for us? Swamiji, why do we need to struggle in the waking state? Why not we do the same thing? In the sleep, anyway, buddhi is not functioning. I mean, vritti is not there. It is easy, right, to do this meditation through sleep, where we don't need to attempt to quieten the mind. The mind is already quiet. We don't need to remove their thoughts. It's already not there. Now, why not we do then? Sushuptau buddhi abhavena durgrahatvat swarupasya. If totally buddhi is not there also, you can't see it. If buddhi is so prominently present with all the thoughts also, you can't see it. Ek kya musibat ho gaya abhi. Musibat. That's the Urdu word. Right? Musibat. It's Hindi, but came from Urdu. Musibat.
Similar. Urdu and Hindi are similar.
Yeah, they have taken many words from Urdu also.
Yeah. Pakistan.
So, मुसीबत ये है, ये दिखता नहीं है, नहीं देखेगा. So, durgrahatvat. Swarupasya. Samipya Saptami Pashane Vriksha Itivat. See, it is a beautiful example is given. Pashane Vrikshavat, like that of a tree grown in the rock, one can say. I mean, there are places you may see that as though the vriksha, the tree, has grown out of a rock. Really speaking, they are close to each other. So, Saptami, that's why it is given. So, Bhashane vriksha idivat, yadyapi panchabi koshaha guhapadena kalpyante tadapi tatra manomayadinam buddhidvaraka sambandhat anandamaya koshe buddhim vina vivektum ashakyatvat pradanyena sattva-pradhana buddhau eva stitihi iti yuktam iti bhotyam. Even though Anandamaya Kosha is the closest point to consciousness, in the Panchakosha Vivek, if you see, the Annamaya Kosha, then Pranamaya Kosha, Manomaya Kosha, Buddhimaya Kosha, Anandamaya Kosha, then there's Om there. Is it not true, therefore, Anandamaya Kosha is the closest point to the self? Even then, Anandamaya Kosha, even though it is there, but vivektum ashakyatvat. In the state of sleep, there is no possibility of discriminating self and not self for buddhi being absent. Even as though Anandamaya Kosha is the closest point to the self, in the Sushupti Avastha, you cannot do that. In the state of sleep, you cannot do that. So, bring the mind and the intellect to the point closer to the state of the sleep, wherein all the thoughts and feelings and all the disturbances are brought to the minimum, and with that correct understanding of self-knowledge, use the sukshmaya, sukshma darshabhihi, viveka buddhya, darshaniyam, jnatavyam. Buddhidvaraka sambandhat, manomayadinam buddhidvaraka sambandhat. Tatra. See, also consciousness, when it is trying to express itself as an individual being, it works through buddhi, then mind, then prana, and the senses, body and the senses. That is how it expresses. So the buddhi is said to be the closest point to the self, disregarding Anandamaya Kosha. Tadatmana brahmatmana yap purushaha atra guhayam stula sukshma dehatmaka guhayam vased punaha tasya anga guha praveshaha angameva guha angedi sishya sambodhanam va atra praveshaha tadatmya abhimanaha na vidyate. Beautifully put here. When you are able to abide in the cave of the intellect where the self is, you do not enter back to the cave of the womb. Very beautifully uses the word. That's why he says, Punar natasya anga guha praveshaha. Guha praveshaha na. Anga guha. Anga guha means bodily cave. Body cave is what? In the womb of the mother, you will never enter again. Meaning punarjanmana vidyate. Or another meaning he puts, anga, if you separate it, anga is a way a guru addresses his disciple. Because he's my own part, he feels so one with this disciple. Hey anga. The teacher is saying that a anga guha praveshaha punar na vidyate. For a person who is thus reached that buddhi guha, there is no more other guha he is to enter. Again, the meaning is that anga is separated, also the meaning remains the same. So just like the tree and the rock, they are close to each other, it appears that the tree is born out of or grown out of the rock, In the same way, consciousness and buddhi are so close to each other, and therefore it is appearing to be part of the buddhi. Just like the rock is seem to be part of the vriksha, but they are two different, they are close to each other. Similarly, Atman and the buddhi, they appear to be one with each other. Really speaking, in that very buddhi guha itself, the Atman to be discovered. In that way it is used.
In that Hampi Swami,
Mm.
you see that
Yeah.
rocks.
Yeah, I have seen that.
He must have seen that in the comparison.
So, continuing here, अत्र प्रवेशः तादात्म अभिमानः न विद्यते न पुनरावर्तते इति श्रुतेः आत्मानं चेद् विजानीयात् अयमस्मि इति पुरुषः किमिच्छन् कस्य कामाय शरीरमनुसज्वरे. This is a very famous statement, Mundaka See here where he says that Atmanam ched vijaniyat, one who has realized the self, ayam asmi iti purushaha, this is what I am, one who has realized that, kimichan kasya kamaya, desiring which object, shariram anusajjaret, again he will take back to the body. Once realizing the self taken place, afterwards does he take up another body? No, not at all. Or he doesn't accomplish anything out of it. Etavata grantena atmanatma vinayachanam svanubhavah iti etat pradarshitam grantatvadiya shloka uttam brahmatmana samsitihi muktihi iti imam artham sutridam vishadayidum upakramate. In the second verse of Vivekachoodamani, which is famous, right? What is the second verse? Jantunam narajanma durlabhamada pumstvam tato viprada. Then tasmat vaidika dharma marga parada vidvat pamasmat param atmanatma vivechanam svanubhavo brahmatmana samstitihi muktirno shatakodi janma sukritaihi punyair vinalabhyate. Atmanatma vivechanam, that is been spoken so far. Swanubhavo brahmatmana samstitihi. How this Brahma Atmana samstitihi bhavati? The Brahman and Atman together, abidance, how does it take place? This is going to be explained now. And this is where the difficulty comes. But as even one attempts, there is Anandamaya Kosha so strong, and a very, very famous verse here. Jnate vastunya bibalavati vasana nadiresha karta bhokta pyahamiti drida yasya samsara hetuhu pratyak drishyatmani nivasata sapaneya prayatnat muktim prahustadiha munayo vasana tanavam yat Jnate vastunya vibalavati vasana nadiresha karta bhokta pyahamati drida yasya samsara hetuhu pratyak drishtya nivasati sada swapaneya pradatnat muktim prahustadiha munayo vasana tanavam yat. Yat Vasanatanavam Munayah tad muktim iti prahuhu iha. Last line. Reduction of vasana is moksha. The more you reduce, more freedom you see. It's not suddenly one day there will be moksha. No. As even one comes to reduce the number of vasanas, one starts seeing the liberation. See, a person has many desires and walking about in this world can never be happy. The one is over, another one comes. The second is over, third one will come. 15th, iPhone 15 is over, 16 will come. 16 is over, 17 will come. 17 is over, 18 will come. This will end. Every August they have to produce. That is their schedule. And by the time you buy 16 and come out, there is a banner, 17. How mad. And you will find there is no difference between 15 and 16 also. One extra, one camera is there. That is all. So, vasana tanavam, meaning desire, as even it reduces, one starts seeing the freedom. Our peculiar, what you call behavior is, we can never think of giving up desires. Because we feel, if I don't have any desire, what's the purpose of living? What is the purpose of living? I must have some desire to pursue. I feel bored otherwise. If you go to a shop, I don't want anything. Then why are you coming here? You go to a shop and find that you have nothing to do with this. Will you go there again? You won't go to the shop when you don't want anything. Window shopping, Swamiji. So that I can think of buying when I can, when it comes to what is called Black Day sale. I'm just already thinking about it. What is it for? What is it?
Black Friday.
Black Friday. It's already only 2 months, Swamiji. Black Friday will come. I must be ready for it already. What I want to buy, I have put a list. So that when Black Friday comes, I'll see whether it is on sale. So, vasana tanavam muktihi. Idi munayaha prahuhu. And this reduction of vasana cannot be merely by knowing yourself. Aham Brahma idi jnanat na sambhavati vasana tanavam. I am the self, by mere knowledge, the vasana reduction will not take place. That's why he says, jnate vastunyapi. Even as you know it, balavati, strong. Vasana, anadi, esha. Esha vasana, anadi. And balavati, very strong, beginningless. See why it is said beginningless? If I know the source, I can go and attack the source, right? So, हमको वासनायाः janma or hetu or moolam, if we know, we can go and attack that. In effect, when we know the cause, when we destroy the cause, the effect won't be there. So, vasana's cause is what? What is the moolam? What is the source? What is the hetu? One hetu we can say ajnana or avidya. Avidya we can say as the cause of vasanas. Because avidya is also anadi. Right? So, anadi avidya is the cause for anadi vasana. Both are anadi. Okay, right. No, so avidyayaha hetu. Then I have to go behind. What is the cause of the anadi avidya? Because when it becomes anadi, then how will you go to the adi? क्या व्याधि है क्या आपको? So when it is said it is beginningless, how do you go to the beginning? Tell me that. Anadi vasana and anadi avidya means what? Avidya eva vasana here. Because there cannot be two. If there's two anadis, you can say. So vasana is anadi, as it is stated here. All right. Cause of what? Cause of vasana is what? Absence of knowledge of Brahman. Avidya. Anadi avidya. That is also anadi. So when you do not know the hetu, the cause, the karanam, how will you attack it? See, if somebody says, Swamiji, this person, he always angry. What is the cause? The swabha hai. From the birth is like that. Now how will you go and attack that? Because when from the birth itself is like that. So this one is beginningless. That is the reason why it says Balavati Vasana Anadiyesha. And how does it express itself? Karta, Bhokta, Aham, Iti. It is expressing itself, I am the doer, I am the enjoyer, I want it, I can do it, I'll be the only one who can do it, I am the only one who will enjoy this. In all this way, all these method or means by which it expresses Drida. So strong. Ya asya samsara hetuhu. Ya vasana asya samsara hetuhu. That is the very cause of our samsara. So now I having understood that anadi is the vasana, anadi is the avidya, and by mere knowledge that take place I am Brahman. Is that sufficient? No. Not at all. So that is the reason why the 10 verses which is said before, meditate. ध्यान करो, ध्यान करो, ध्यान करो. क्या ध्यान करना है? How कैसा ध्यान? What kind of ध्यानम? प्रत्यग दृष्टया. Pratyag means turning your attention from all things and turning it to yourself. Sada nivasati atmani. Atmani nivasata. By staying in the self alone, prayatnat sa vasana apaneya. When we do not give vent to the vasana to express, it will have a natural death. Once I think I have stated this before also. One Mahatma I met long time back. He was an unassuming person in somewhere in Karnataka. Only spoke in Kannada. So I went and asked him, some discussion we started, and one thing I asked him was, if ego has to be overcome, it is a karta, it is a karma, it is an action or it is an attempt. Who is attempting to end the ahankar? I asked this question. Who is attempting to end the ahankar? So he thought about it for a while and he said, I am not going to quote any shastra to you. I am not going to quote any scripture and try to justify by saying, okay, look at this Vivekachoodamani, look at that. And then, no, I'm not. I'm going to tell you a practical thing. Now, what is it? He said, he looked at, which was a small village in which he was living. So he looked at this tree. I looked at the tree. This tree, around it you see, there is no water. Nobody pours water to this tree. Many of the trees, once they grown up, nobody pours water to a tree. Right? And a small plant is there, you water it. Once it has become a tree, you don't go and water a tree. So there is nobody watering this tree, correct? Yes. How is it surviving then? Once it has grown up, it has the roots, and the root goes wherever the water is. Wherever the water is, it will go and pick up, and that is how all the trees will be able to survive. Now, the only way I can really remove this tree or destroy this tree, not by cutting the branches, not by cutting the trunk, it will come back again because the roots are there. Once the roots are there, any amount of cutting you do, it will come back because it's still surviving. So what I should do is I put a drench around it. I cut a drench or dig a trench. I cut a trench around it. Say, let us say from the tree 10-15 feet away, I start circle. And you will see the roots are there. So through the trench, cut off the source of water. It cannot go beyond the trench. And put stones there. Stop it from moving. You will find you don't need to do anything. Within few weeks, it will die. Because it does not have any more ability to bring the water to the tree. So he looked at me. Start digging the trench. Then you will see. Meaning you have to see how the vasanas are surviving. Dig a trench. Do not feed it. Do not feed. That is the only way you can really bring down the propensity of the vasanas, not any other way. Any other way you try, it will survive because the source is not cut off. For source of its survival, where it came from, it's a different thing. Don't worry about that. Because from seed only the tree came. You don't see the seed anymore there. Do you see the seed? No. Then, what is it making it survive? That you find out. So he said that the only way to get rid of ego is find out what is feeding the ego. What is ego? Karta, bhokta, aham, iti. I am the doer. I am the enjoyer. I want it. I don't want it. I like it. I don't like it. This is the way it is surviving. Pratyadrishtya, meaning what? Turning your attention to yourself, Atmani nivasata, by staying in yourself again and again, prayatnat, sa apaneya. So that is why it says, Vastuni Atmani Nyate api Panchakosha Vilakshanataya Brahma Abhinnataya cha Shastrataha Yuktitascha Nyate api. Even if upon using all the yuktis, all the various teachings from the Shastra, Ya Vasana Asya Samsara Hetuhu Kartrutva Bhoktrutva Adi Samskara Karanam Maham Karta Bhokta Api Iti Drida Dur Uchchedya, very difficult to cut. Uchchedanam is to cut. Uchchedya Anadi Brahma Bahukala Bahukalat Anuvruta, surviving Yesha Vasana Balavati Samyak Pravruddha Api, even though it's grown very well, Swapne Swapnetyantam Bitaha Kanchit Kalam Nirakulita Antakarano Na Bhavati Iti Drishyatehi. See, even as a person who has gone through a very terrible dream, even after waking up, that person will not come out of that agitated mind. In the same way, even as one comes to have the knowledge of the self, the disturbances caused by the vasanas are so long. For so many lives it has been. That's why the example is given. Even as you wake up from a terrible dream, think about it. It is still causing great fear. In the same way, the vasana which is there, anadikala, even as you know yourself as Brahman, the effect of the vasana which has been continued for so long would still persist. अतः आत्मनि ब्रह्मणि धृति सम्यक् दृष्ट्या बहिर्मुखत्वं नितरां दूरीकृत्य अंतर्मुखतया निर्विकल्पसमाधिना इत्येतत् अभेदज्ञानेन निवसता नितरां स्थितिमता सा प्रयत्नात् अपनेया नाशनीया. प्रयत्नात् नाशनीया. तेरे प्रयत्न होना ही चाहिए. प्रयत्न बिना, without any effort, it will not go away. अतः यतः वासनातानवं स्वकार्य अनादायकत्वम् अनादायकत्वम् अनुत्कटत्वं यत् तदेव लोके शास्त्रे वा पुनः शास्त्रार्थ मननशीलाः मुक्तिः इति प्राहुः. Vasana Tanavam, the reduction of the vasanas, not giving it any more importance. Anukutatvam, Anutkatatvam, not giving them not any more of importance, not Shastra, so he says, Swakarya Anadayakatvam, without giving Adaya, without giving any more support of it. That alone is given Shastrartha Shanadashilaha Muneha Muktihi iti. Ataha Brahmatmana Samstitihi Apramadena Samstitihi Muktihi iti Drudatama Sadhana Sadushtaya Sampantim Vina Janmantarakruta Sukruta Vashat Brahmaviduha api Vasanakshaya Manona Sharnaya Prayatnaha Nirantara Samadhi Rupaha Avashyakaha Eva iti Uttam Bhavati. Even if a person is, whether he is having the sadhana sadhushtaya or not, even as the very many things that have been accumulated over many lives, which are in the form of vasanas, must be overcome by again and again attempting to Nirvikalpa Samadhi alone would make it possible for him to destroy it. That is what is called prayatna here. So many of the Shastra Vasana, those who have, they say Shastra padne se hi just hota hai. Just padho, bas ho gaya. But Gurudev and others would say, no, it's said by Bhagavan Shankaracharya himself. That is not prayatna karna hi chahiye. Abidance has to be practiced. Pratyak drishtya sada atmani nivasata prayatnat saapaniya. We'll see more of it in the next class. Om sarve bhavantu sukhinah, sarve santu niramayaha, sarve bhadrani pashyantu, ma kasyad dukkha bhad bhavet. Om shanti shanti shanti. Hari Om Shri Guru Namaha.